I got Ed here today. We're going to talk about some of the realities that affect people on low income and on fixed incomes. We all know Ed's struggling with trying to find housing that is compatible with his needs. And I figured I would let him talk about his concerns and leave the camera rolling so you guys can just see what goes on behind the scenes and edit out what we need to edit out. So, take it away, Ed. It's your turn. And then the tools and the utensils.
Yeah, this government right now that they got in power doesn't get it. They're doing absolutely nothing to help the low-income people at all. Social Security, they were telling us, they're going to raise it, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that, and they're talking all this, and talking all that, but they didn't do nothing. That's the bottom line. And they're still not doing nothing yet. What I say is, I say this, that anybody on Social Security should be getting at least, probably more now because everything keeps going up. But it should be at least $1,400 for everybody on Social Security, period. There shouldn't be these people getting a lot more money than some get nothing. I only get $800 and something dollars. That is not enough for me to pay for an apartment anywhere on my own. And I mean anywhere. So it's not fair. It's not fair to me, and it's not fair to a lot of people, a lot of other people like me. Then you have to trust in somebody else to get a roommate. What if you don't get along or something? You have to always trust in other people. They make you live like this and suffer like this, and it's not fair. It's just not. So and they got the money to do it. What about these billions and trillions of dollars they got? They're so concerned about the Ukraine. What about our own country, our own people suffering here? They okayed all this money to send over to Ukraine. You know, I'm not saying I'm saying what's happening in Ukraine is not good. We won't get into that. But the point is, he's not helping his own people out. Why is he going to help the Ukrainian people and immigrants and everybody else before he even helps out his own people in the United States of America? And I think it's really pitiful. I really do. And it's not fair that one person should have to live off $800 a month, and my amount only went up to $800. It was a little bit less last year, but now because everything's gone up, I didn't gain anything, and it keeps going up and keeps going up and up and up. They need to pass something to help the poor people, and then on the Social Security, SSI, SSD. Everybody should be getting a fixed income of at least maybe $1,200 between $1,700 a month for everybody on SSD and SSI, period. There's no other way to talk about it. That's the bottom line. That's the way it should be.
What we should do is talk about how much is the average housing in Connecticut for a single bedroom apartment. Just give people some numbers, what's going on, especially for people who don't have the money for the security deposits, the key deposits, the application fees. How much is the average apartment in Connecticut right now for a one bedroom?
Well, it's around. If you're in a rundown neighborhood, or if you're in a place that's not that great, you can get something that's not that great. Probably even the apartments that aren't even kept up that good in lower income neighborhoods or areas that aren't as nice as other areas, you're probably going to pay right now I'd say you're probably going to pay at least $700 at least, and that's for a junkie apartment probably.
Nah, I haven't seen them that cheap anymore. Especially not with one that includes heat.
I don't know if it's a junkie apartment. You still might be able to, in a bad neighborhood.
Yeah, but then those buildings probably have building violations that could result in them being condemned too.
Any good apartment, one bedroom apartment, a good building, nice building, around $1,000.
Yeah, this one with heat and hot water included is about $800 a month.
Yeah.
And it's in an older neighborhood too, so it's not stellar. Keep going, Ed. Keep talking. I'm going to just get something done here. Back up. This is your time to let's talk about subsidized housing for a minute. Because I think we need to talk about that.
That's not working either, subsidized housing. Anywhere in the country, they could solve this problem, but they're not interested in solving it. Why is there homeless people? 2 reasons. People on Social Security don't make enough money to pay rent to get a place, most of them. And the housing lists are way too long. You got to wait 2 years on average in most states to get a place on housing or Section 8.
What about the working poor? Because you didn't mention them. You're talking about specifically the disabled, but what about the working poor that are homeless?
I don't know much about that. I mean,
the working poor would definitely be affected by the thing housing costs. Okay, yes. In their case, their jobs don't pay enough to pay for the rent, especially in the cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, New York City, and they can't move out to the country because then they can't easily get to work. So, remember, the few working poor, they have cars, they're living in those cars. They don't have a choice because the car is the only home they have. In Los Angeles, there are parking lots specifically set up for the mobile homeless.
Yeah, now they're screwing around with, they're making the gas go so high that people that live in cars aren't even be able to do that anymore. Basically, there's something going on in this country I don't like at all, and I really don't like it. It seems like they're targeting, they want to make it just so rich people, we're going to be okay, but middle class, poor, anything else, it's like they don't care. They just want to, it seems like they just want to forget about us and we die, whatever.
But we are the major consumers of the products that the rich people make. We're the ones that keep the rich people in business.
How is somebody going to drive? Okay, I was going to get a car myself. I got a license. And how's somebody going to drive? I can't afford to pay $10 a gallon for gas. It's cheaper for me to take a bus if I got to go somewhere. A lot cheaper. $10 a gallon? Come on.
Yeah, that's kind of high.
And it is going to go up to $10 a gallon.
It will be up to $10 a gallon. And the thing is that Biden shuts down all the local oil pipelines and everything else.
That's why I say he's doing deliberate stuff that makes no sense, that's making the problem worse, I think, because he wants to make it worse. Because I really think he's he's deliberately trying to drive the poor, the less fortunate or middle income, or whoever's not rich, into oblivion. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Because of everything he does. He lied to people. He told them he was going to change America for the better. He was going to do this. He was going to do that. Well, he's changed it all right. He changed it for the worst.
All right.
He changed it for the worst.
So, let me turn this meat down now. Oh, I'll just turn this down a bit.
Yeah, just turn it on warm or something. I'm preoccupied now.
Okay, about halfway. Well, so what's the solution? Let's talk about that. What's the solution? Now, obviously, the first thing we got to do is we got to restore and reactivate the pipelines that we need to get oil into this country. And we need...
But we're wasting our time even talking about it because he's not going to do none of that. Nothing's going to change for the better until his terms are over with. Because he's not going to do anything to help anybody except the rich. He's destroying everything, making it worse. Destroying, it's not you not having more oil here, it's all because of his whatever green agenda. They're trying to make it all electric cars, push electric things on everybody, but they're not thinking about all the problems that's going to cause for the power grids eventually. They're not thinking about none of that, and they're also not thinking about where they're going to put all these dead batteries when they finally do die. They're not thinking about that either.
There's no recycling programs that I know of in the United States for those car batteries. There's The lithium-ion battery packs in Tesla, for example, are a pain in the neck to disassemble. They're not. Same thing with all the other manufacturers. The Nissan Leaf, the Chevy Bolt, not the Volt. The Volt was a hybrid that's no longer being made. But still, what about those batteries? They're still going to be recycled eventually.
See, that was another thing. They should have stuck with the hybrids instead of completely electric cars, because the hybrids make a lot more sense than it does a completely electric car. I still say that, because they got good gas mileage, and when you were getting low on gas, the electric engine kicks in.
Right.
So they should have never. This whole completely electric, it's not going to work. It's going to fail. I think it's not going to work. They're going to find out it's not going to work. Then they're talking about NASCAR wants to go. I don't see how an electric motor could ever have performance of a gasoline motor for what they're asking it to do. They're going to overheat and burn up.
Let me give you a quick knowledge about electric motors, just so you understand. They get torque from the minute you turn it on. It's instant torque. It's all there. There's no need for transmission. So
I don't know.
The only thing you would need a transmission for is to go reverse. And even that can be done just by swapping a wire around. It's instant torque, instant acceleration. The gasoline engine needs a transmission because it doesn't get instant torque when you start the gasoline engine when you accelerate. Because there's losses incurred by the way the engine works. So, electric motors, as you know, from your slot cars, can go very fast, very quick, and can really seriously, with a proper pulse width modulation, can really seriously produce a lot of torque.
Oh, I don't know. A lot of the race drivers are saying they don't think it's going to work. It's not going to work out, these next generation race cars that are electric. They've already had some very bad crashes with them.
The problem is, with the race car is about this, look how long is it going to take to recharge it. A typical gas engine in a race, especially in a pit stop, what does it take, about a minute to fill the tank? Or they can totally swap the tank out with a full fuel cell. They can't do that with a typical electric car, because the batteries are usually mounted underneath the chassis for safety. So I don't know how that would work. I mean, maybe you could mount the battery in the back of the car, but that's going to put a lot of weight on the back end, but that's what the driving wheels most.
Well, anyway, getting back to the point of this whole video I was doing is they need to get it right, and I don't think they're going to get it right under Biden, because I don't think he really gives a crap about the poor people or middle income people at all, just rich. So I think we're going to be stuck until he gets out of office and we get somebody else in there that does care. Hopefully they're it. Myself, I like Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump does care about the average person and the lower income and poor person. And Biden had the nerve to talk about Trump when he was running, how bad he was and this and that. Well, guess what, Biden? You just showed how much of a liar and a hypocrite you are, because Mr. Trump is a much better person than you are. Much better.
He was.
Yeah.
But I'd like to ask you, is there any other advice you'd like to give to other people in the homeless or unable to afford a home situation? Advice from one to another. Is there anything you'd like to say to those people?
Unless they got, and now people that own houses are even getting screwed because the taxes keep going up.
And so
they
keep
raising the taxes on the lands that the houses are on. First of all, I talked to an Indian guy years and years ago. I don't even think it's fair, really, when you look at it technically. If you own a house, that's your house. Why should you have to pay taxes on property of a house that's yours, that's sitting on a piece of land that is yours? Now, that whole system doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think it's fair. You shouldn't have to pay taxes on your own land, your own house. They need to change that too.
Well, don't forget, it's because in the towns you're paying for the services, like
I know,
fire,
but it's still
police.
not fair to people, though. They're taxing you when they shouldn't. You're taxing your property. That's where it's wrong.
So you think it would be better to play a police officer every time he shows up at your door? For whatever reason? Or if you have a burglar, he says, sorry,
they
I can't
make enough
investigate
money.
unless you give
Listen,
me
they make
$5,000.
enough money. They have a lot of state income tax for people that are working. They have a lot of taxes. They could figure out another tax system that'd be more fair than the system they're doing the way they're doing it. Charging taxes on people's property is not right.
But my main question I'm trying to get at, Ed, is there any advice you'd like to give to other people who are homeless or looking for a place and don't make enough money? That's what I was asking you, and you kind of missed that. Is there anything you'd like to tell those individuals, the ones that are struggling to find a place to live?
No, there's nothing I could tell them except they're screwed until the government makes some changes that helps out people more.
So, in other words, you don't have any advice at all for them?
Not really.
Well, one piece of advice I can give you guys is shack up. You might be able to find a friend, share a place with. But depending on the landlords, right now it's a landlord's market. The landlords have the upper hand right now. So unless the landlord likes you, there's a good chance that you're going to be struggling. Unfortunately. I think it's kind of frustrating for everybody what's going on, but I don't know. What do you think? I mean, is there anything? I mean, since it's a landlord's market, because landlords have the upper hand right now, is there anything, any kind of advice you'd suggest to landlords?
Even the landlords were getting screwed because of the COVID and everything was going on with the COVID.
Because you had deadbeats that took advantage of them.
They ended up having those, well, okay, you couldn't evict people. A lot of help to help people so they wouldn't get evicted, but I'm not taking their side, the landlord's side, but a lot of landlords lost a lot of money over that. And now that's going to raise the price of housing once all that stuff is lifted. That's why the rents are probably going up.
No, the evictions are over. They have to pay all those court fees to get all those people out of there. And there's a huge backlog in many states for eviction courts. There's like, some of those people are going to continue to live there for another year free. How's the landlord going to pay their taxes? How are they going to pay their utilities? If the tenants refuse to pay rent at all, or depending on the jurisdiction, maybe the landlord's not allowed to charge rent while they're in evictions. So I don't know what the answer is, but clearly, you know, it's a double-pronged problem. Because during the moratorium, some people did have valid concerns, did try to pay the rent, but lost their jobs. They couldn't pay the rent as much as they're supposed to. Maybe they made payment arrangements with the landlord, and they did everything to get the money together. But then the states, when they were given that emergency housing assistance, some of the states did not distribute the money in a timely manner. So those poor tenants didn't get the money in time. Okay? I have empathy for those tenants. Those tenants are the ones that are trying to do the best they can. It's the ones that refused to pay rent. The ones that said, you can't throw me out anyway, landlord. You know, go pound sand. Those are the ones I have no empathy for. I don't have empathy for those people. Because all the money that they had, whatever they had, they've probably been saving away in a savings account or something.
Good, that's good for them. I agree with them. Good. The landlords, most of the landlords are rich millionaires anyway, so I don't agree with you on that. Let the people put their money away. Let them worry about what they got to do to support them and their families.
Well, then they're going to have to
put their money away, let them put it away.
On the credit report for over 7 years. Good luck finding housing, guys. I mean, the legitimate ones that had a valid problem tried their best. I have empathy for you. I understand your situation. It's the deadbeats I don't have empathy for. And I certainly have empathy for the landlords with the second group and the first group. Because why? They didn't do anything wrong. The tenants took advantage of a situation. And they're not benefiting from it. They're not.
Michelle, you and I did the same thing. We lived in a building for free when it went into for a closer out in Willimantic.
They refused to accept the rent during the ejectment. They refused to accept the rent. What can you do then? The landlord, in this case, the bank didn't want our rent. What are you supposed to do? You can't do anything. You know. But I'm talking about the situation where the landlord and the tenants are working out the terms together to straighten out the mess. Payment arrangements are being made, like I did with Jimmy.
I'll never look. I'll never look at things the same as a lot of people. I'm always going to look at it differently because I'll say this: I was brought up in an adopted rich family. Okay, they were what I would call them is
stuck up snobs.
Yeah. Also, I would say that they were how do you put this? They were unsuccessful people. In other words, he had a good job that paid him almost $2,000 a week. My stepfather. She didn't work a day in her life, my stepmother. She never worked a day in her life. He paid for everything. So, yeah, I was growing up and I had never worries growing up. I mean, the house they had and all that. And, but the man never had a life of his own either, which I won't get into on here. All he did was go to work every day and he paid all the bills and he had no social life whatsoever. I see that now that I'm older. I remember that.
Plastic spoon.
But the point is that when you come from a rich family and then you turn out later in life having nothing and ended up on the poor side, such as I had, you realize how much my stepfamily they were nothing but money. They only cared about them and their own people. They were Italians. And the other side was Polish. I didn't know much about my stepfather's side of it, but when you go through that, you see that it's night and day. But for me, it changed me for the better, because after my stepmother died, I inherited my stepmother's house. I helped people. Some stayed in my house for nothing. I always did whatever I could to help. I turned out opposite of those people because of what I saw they were doing. And was never outsourced to survive on my own all these years after my stepmother died. But anyway, changing from going from a rich family, you see what they're like. You see what rich people are like. Maybe not all rich people are like this. I would say not maybe, it's true. Not all of them are like this, but the majority of them are. They're all about money.
I think it depends on how
money,
they got rich.
Money and family, and it's all they're about. They don't care about... I mean, my stepmother used to talk about racism, terrible, all that kind of stuff. It just totally turned me to opposite of what they were. Completely opposite. I didn't turn out like them at all because I didn't like anything the way they were bringing me up or teaching me. I didn't like it at all. And I still don't.
I didn't.
I don't bother with nobody in my step-family. And I prefer it that way. I think the world would be a much better place if we had some people in power that did care about everybody instead of just special interest groups. If things would be a lot better, the economy included would be a lot better. Instead, now the United States is getting more and more immigrants here to have none, to let more people over here to have none, but yet, this is what gets me too, Now they got all these other people coming in from other countries. They can't even help the people that are already here. That makes no sense either. So everything they're doing doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm through with this video. I've got no more to say tonight. I just going to say one last thing before I get off this video. Is that I think this problem is going to continue until we get a new president and new administration in there, because this guy ain't going to help nobody. Nope.
So, I guess the next question is what's your plans for the next few months?
Michelle, take the video off. I'm done with the video. I'm signing off.
Alright. It's my turn to talk. Anyway, so that was it. That was just a quick meeting with Ed. I know he says a lot of the same stuff all the time. So I thought I would explain something from my perspective. Number one, the situation with what the government's doing or not doing is like, okay, now they want to give $800 billion to Ukraine, which is valid. There's valid concerns here. Last year, Biden promised us another stimulus check. He never gave it to us. Originally, it was called the American Families Plan, and then it became the America's Build Back Better Plan. That was the infrastructure, the physical, and that passed. But the other one, which was supposed to include stimulus checks, did not pass because Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema realized this is a dog and pony show. All that $1.5 trillion or $1.2 trillion was not going to the people who needed it most, the most vulnerable. It was going to programs for people that didn't need it as much. They could have continued the child tax credit. They could have given the adult earned income tax credit. No, I didn't even file my taxes yet. I really should do that. But the truth of the matter is the way I'm beginning to feel about it is, what the fuck's the point? I'm not going to get any money out. I don't owe any money. The only reason I'm being on the IRS was maybe I could get some of the earned income adult credit. Right? How much is that going to be? $600 to $2,500 for a family of two? Sorry, I'm only a family of one. So I'm lucky if I come home with even $600. And for the amount of work of paying H&R Block to take all my 1099s, bring them down there, my Social Security earning statements, everything, bring them down there, make a meeting, schedule an appointment, put all the stuff together, pay $60 just to do a simple tax return. I'm not going to get anything out of it. I'm going to end up paying money to a tax adjuster to do taxes, and I probably would get zero earned income credit. People in low income that are trying to make it ends meet need help. And they also need the opportunity to do better for themselves. Housing programs, everybody mentions those. But the thing is, there's waiting lists that over two plus years long. There's just not enough money for those who need the help the most. I don't even know how anybody can realistically make it in this day and age. I don't see any thing that Joe Biden is doing is right.
Nobody can except for rich people. That's it.
Even they're hurting, Ed. They're hurting a lot of ways.
There's no such thing as rich people hurting. They're always going to be fine.
There is no really anything called rich anymore, Ed. That's just it. It's all panacea. The middle income is hurting. Sure, you're well-to-do. They're investing in stocks and bonds and 401ks. Yeah, they're doing fine for the most part. But the average poor, low-income, middle-income family is not doing well.
Don't you think it's a little disgusting that somebody sits in front... Here's a stock exchange. Someone sits in front of a computer all day and all they do is pick what company is going to earn them more money. They sit there and load their pockets and get rich with all this money off of doing that, and all they do... They're not even working. It's not even a job.
That's a horrible job. That's a horrible job.
It's not even a job.
It is a job. But it's a horrible job because you don't even... You're so wrapped up with trying to get the most amount of money per share that you give up your whole social life, your whole... People giving up time with their own families to focus on watching the markets. It's a horrible job. Day trading is horrible.
Just sit there and get richer and richer off of it, though.
What good is all the money going to do you?
I wish they would do away with the stock market, tell you the truth. All it does is make the rich richer.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
And then let's talk about sports for a minute. You don't need to see my face on the no, you don't turn it, please. Let's talk about sports for a minute. The salaries, that's why they had this lockout. They finally did away with it. And they were talking about, oh, they don't care about anybody, the owners or the players. You know what? That's the way to look at it, the owners or the players, because they were both wrong. Okay? The owners wanted to stop these salaries from skyrocketing. They shouldn't be paying these guys this kind of money. So it was actually more of the owners' fault for doing that with baseball. You're going to... $44 million, for an example, I'm not going to say who the guy is, this one guy, to play a baseball game. They're playing a game. It's not even a job. Like, it's not even a work. They're having fun doing a recreation.
Hold on a minute. Let me ask you a question. What do you define as work?
Work is something like work in a warehouse, physical work, stuff like that is work. But
okay, physical work.
Well, you're interrupting. What I'm trying to say is sports is not work. Sports is for entertainment purposes. It is work in a way, but it's work for entertainment, for people to get entertained. And the athletes enjoy it themselves because they love playing these games.
It's a career. It's a career. It's something that they focus on. It's a career they like doing.
But big money ruined it. Not just baseball, all over sports. All the way from hockey, all the way through to basketball, baseball, football, all the major sports.
Soccer,
they're the only one that hasn't got affected yet. But they're going to be headed there too, probably.
We count on it. Probably a lot of players may switch from one sport to another. You know, some people like to play multiple sports. The point is I see work as somebody that's bringing in an income regardless if it's a laborer's job like working in a warehouse or garbage man or electrician or plumber. It's a job that brings home the bacon. Yes, even a prostitute is a job. Okay? Yes, so is a coke junkie. That's a job. Dangerous job, mind you. Illegal job, but it's still a job. It supports their families. Even a YouTube influencer is a job. Some people say a job has to bring home a certain type of income cap. I don't think that's necessarily true, but that's my opinion. And
that's another thing. Why throw people in jail? Throw people in jail now, all right? For doing drugs because they get caught doing drugs. Throw them in jail for not selling, but doing the drugs. They need to do away with that too, because somebody does drugs, that should be their choice. They allow people to drink. Why? Because alcohol's legal. They should just turn around and legalize drugs all the way across the board. It only costs the states money to throw these people in jail for what? And then once they find that out on their record, they try to get out and get a job. They can't get hired because of it a lot of places.
Right. What about the NBA woman player that is now being incarcerated in Russia for 10 years for having marijuana in her bag?
Oh, they threw her in jail for that? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it's illegal in Russia. She's stuck in Russia. She can't get home. So she's going to go to Russian prison for 10 years.
They're doing that on purpose because of the stuff that's going on with the other stuff.
I don't think so. I don't think it's related to that.
They used her because of that. They want to make an example because of that stuff that's going on probably in their minds.
Russia has very strict drug laws, though. So, I mean...
She should have known and been smart enough not
right,
to bring
she
that
should
stuff
have
over
known.
there.
So that was definitely a fault on her, but 10 years? Why couldn't they give her a shorter sentence in maybe 6 months to a year?
They don't like her because she's American because of what's going on right now in the world.
Well, but she broke the law, though. So, but 10 years I think is a little long. Seriously. So, I mean, I think 10 years is a bit too long.
I think that's ridiculous.
In some countries, you get caught with any kind of drugs, you can go right to the right to the firing squad, or right to the gallows. We're talking about a person using, never mind the sellers. They get definitely just as bad, if not worse, treatment.
And there's some countries that's completely legal, and they don't throw people in jail at all, and they allow people to sell it and do it.
Netherlands has a lot of legalized drugs they can use legally in the Netherlands.
I think that's the way it should be all over the place, to tell you the truth, because I think it should just be a free, open society and let people make their own choices. Why throw them in jail for it? It only costs the states money, and then it ruins it for them, and they can't even get work when they get out.
In fact, if the states taxed and regulated it, they could make money. That's why Connecticut finally legalized marijuana. They finally said, it's better for us to make money than to keep locking these people up and spending all that money to keep them in prison.
A lot of these old school politicians are living in the past.
Biden's one of them.
It's not the 60s anymore.
No. Hell, in the 60s we had lawn darts, for Christ's sakes. Which is true. That's something that scared me. The lawn darts in the 60s. The one with the sharp pointy tips, not the one, the dull ones. The point is our society is deteriorating. You want to check that meat on there and see if it's going okay now, and it's been in there for almost 2 hours.
That's done, I think.
All right, so just drain out the water.
Get up and put the oven, turn the oven down to warm.
I did.
No, you didn't. It's not on warm. The oven's not on warm.
It's on 200.
Oh, all
right. So what I'll do is let me turn the oven off anyway, and that way it'll be cooled down. We can be able to cut it without burning our hands. Yeah, for those of you who wonder why I fell yesterday, I'm not exactly sure why I fell yesterday on the porch. It just seems that my right leg just kind of got out of, wasn't the right place for the center balance, and it buckled, and then it basically fell down. But I'm fine. I just got to go slow. Usually it's my left leg that goes out. And my right leg's get all the muscles, but I was really tired. So I didn't really get a tremendous amount of sleep. There's just so much going on in the world right now that I'm trying to, get my health back. I want to get back outside more. And that's my plan. And this week coming up, Krista's can help me and Ed organize the storage bin and the studio, because we gotta get that stuff organized. We gotta bring some stuff to the dumpster. We got so much small miscellaneous odds and ends that we have to manually go through and determine what to keep and what to toss. And I don't know about the sell pile. How about keep, toss, and give away? So if anybody's interested in any stuff and you're in the Winston area, email me. I'll show you the stuff on the video and see what you're interested in. And you guys can come by and pick it up, because I'm sure we'll have some things for you. Oh, I know I definitely have the older NEC laptop. The Data General laptop that somebody else is looking for, another PC version with a power supply because they damaged theirs. I have it if you are interested in it, with the boot discs and everything. And I made extra copies of those boot discs as well. And I can throw in a couple boxes of 3.5-inch 520K discs for you. if you're interested in it. I'm not even going to charge for it. I think we paid $10 for it many years ago at the Salvation Army. I'll just give it to you. Because then you'll be able to use it and play around with it. Sadly enough, mine is not the one with the backlight option. Some of these had a backlight option. This one does not have that feature. I mean, it has a backlight, but it's not what they call plasma. It's not a plasma display. But that's something I would give you. It's one of the first generation LCD backlit screens. The corned beef cabbage. The corned beef is cooking. The cabbage is still boiling along. We made some julienne carrots. We didn't make any potatoes because we don't have any left, I don't think, except from powdered potatoes. And I'm not in the mood for powdered potatoes, so that's probably pretty much what we're going to make tonight. So, alright guys, thank you very much for watching this short impromptu interview, and I'll see you all guys tomorrow morning. Sorry the internet was acting funny this morning. I did reset the router, and that helped a lot, so I just thought I would let you know that I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Okay, bye-bye. Bye, guys.